Personally, I love planning, or at least I love envisioning a new future, setting New Year's resolutions. And whilst I always take the end of December to do this for my personal life, and I'll definitely make an episode about how I do that as well, for my business, the truth is I kind of have to start doing this way sooner than the date where the new year actually rolls around. Because if you start making your plan January 1st, fact is you're actually a little bit too late. And that is why I have been spending these past couple of weeks with all of my business coaching clients, with my millionaire mastermind clients, to really kind of like format their 2025 plans and to look at their priorities and everything. So in this episode, I'm going to do a short, quick episode with just the 5 steps you cannot skip in order to plan a really successful and profitable 2025. Hello, and welcome to Fail to Win, the show where we love to make mistakes and learn from them so you can turn your passion into profits and live life on your own terms. I'm Amy van der Putten from FastForwardAmy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode with simple strategies every Tuesday. I'm just bouncing with energy as I'm recording this because I have been helping my clients format their year. So a little over a year ago, I decided I wanted to help people become a self-made millionaire, women, specifically online business owners. So I set out to gather a bunch of new clients. I set up a couple of new coaching programs, masterminds, everything. And I'm currently in this phase where I'm just so happy with the work I'm doing. I'm so happy with the clients I'm getting to coach. I'm having so much fun helping them format their new year. And this is actually also where I got the inspiration to create this episode for you, because I don't want to gatekeep this from you. I don't want you to work hard the upcoming year only to then, by December, turn around and think, okay, I worked hard, but what did I accomplish? I want you to really break through the income ceiling or the limits you've had in the past. And I want 2025 to be your year. So I'm going to share with you the 5 steps you need to take, and you need to promise me that you're actually going to do this in order to create your best year in revenue and alignment and everything ever, without burning yourself to the ground, without having to overwork all the time. So the first thing you need to do, and this is wildly unsexy, and I know you want to skip this, but trust me, this is where the magic lies. It's you want to start analyzing your past year. So you want to take some time this month to look at your past year and look at, okay, so 2024, how's it going? And I do this as well. So for example, I looked at my sales stats and my membership stats, and I saw that we had a couple of really big increases in how many people signed up for our programs in June and July. And I noticed that I kept on coming up with new ideas and a flash sale and a Black Friday sale and everything. And at a certain point, I had to decide, audio notification. Let me see if this audio is still good. Sounds about right. Okay, so this was me end of this year, basically looking at, should I do a Black Friday sale? Which product should I offer? Should it be €100 offer? Should it be something more expensive? And I was like, Amy, you just can't seem to make a decision. So sit down, do this rationally, go back to the numbers. So I literally wrote down what my options were: low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket. And as I was going through those stats and looking at my financial numbers, I went through our sales stats from this past year, and I saw that we had been doing like very, very good sales anytime we hosted webinars. And I was like, why do you always want to keep reinventing the wheel? Just do another webinar, because you seem to be really good at that. And this is what you want to do as well. You want to look at your year. You want to look at everything you've been doing, all of the projects you've been working hard at, and then you want to apply the 80-20 principle. You want to find the 20% of the efforts that got you 80% of your results. And if I look back, for example, at June, in 30 days, we did a 235K pre-order launch. And we did that with a simple pre-order waitlist and a couple of webinars. So why wouldn't I repeat that every quarter of the upcoming year? When you look at those numbers, you see that maybe those other months you're doing a bunch of shit that isn't actually getting you results. But I know whenever I host a webinar, I do well. So by looking at your year and by discovering okay, what products are really selling well? What conversion events are selling well? What works well for me? Maybe a pre-order doesn't work well for you. For me, it works wonders. I love selling through wait lists and hyping people up. It's because I'm a fairly enthusiastic person and I tend to be able to hype people up really, really well. Selling at an event works well. So I'm going to repeat that as well. So you just want to find the efforts that actually got you results, and you want to do less of the things that didn't get you the best results. So review your revenue, client data, payment plans, product performance, and you want to start focusing on the products that performed really well. I always have my clients do this for their entire year. I have them list out all of the products they want to sell, and then with the potential, how many rounds they want to do this, with the price points and the amount of people they think they can get into their programs. And when they do this, I list it up in a way that you get to see the revenue percentage. And what often happens is that my clients will spend a really long time on organizing this flash sale for this really cheap product, or do that multiple times a year. And in reality, that only gets them like 2% of their potential revenue. And I'll tell them, like, all of the resources you're putting in there, your energy, your team's energy, it needs to go. It's not getting you the results you need. That webinar, however, why don't you do a couple of more webinars if that works well? Why don't you launch that same product you launch in January again in July? If it works well, just do it again. So really analyze what went well, what could have gone better, what are you missing the upcoming year, and start planning from there. And then the second step is you're going to start setting targets. So you want really clear goals for your year from the get-go. You don't want to do this the way I used to do this. I used to always be like, 10x, I want to do everything 10x. And you've probably heard me say that on the podcast. I'm the typical, very visionary entrepreneur, not realistic whatsoever. I have many ideas. I'm not great at executing them. I need my team for that. And you need that enthusiasm. But when you are setting targets for the year, it's also really good when that feels more or less realistic, that you actually know what you're going to be hitting. So for example, with all of my business club clients, I have them create a revenue management sheet at the end of the year. And this is a budget forecast that they're making for the new year. And it says, okay, your projected revenue, your projected costs, and your projected profit. And you really don't just want to set targets, like especially if you're scaling to higher level, which many of my clients are. I also have a lot of starter clients, but I also have a lot of advanced clients. And I know those are the types of people who tend to listen to this podcast. So maybe you're already over 100K or you're nearing 100K, you want to go higher. I urge you to not just set a target for your revenue, but also for your costs, because you really want to keep an eye on your rising costs, and you don't want that to grow as fast as your revenue is growing, because I've had that in the past. And then you end up basically doing $1 million in revenue and having 900,000 in costs. And you don't want that. You really want to make sure you have a nice profit margin. So set targets, revenue targets, profit targets. Those are targets I set. Maybe brand awareness targets. Maybe you have a certain goal, like you want to write a book. When you do that, when you say, oh, I want to write a book, I would urge you to make that like smart, like, okay, by when and how many people do you want to have sold the book to? Because that implies not only are you writing a book, like the action you're taking, but the desired outcome, which could be 1,000 sales of my book. When you do all of this and you set your targets for the year, it's going to be a lot easier to then prioritize those over your timeline and think of which projects you're going to do and which projects you might postpone, which brings us to our third tip of the day. The third step you need to take is you got to decide on key products and projects. Just yesterday, I was texting one of my clients and she said, yeah, I made you a loom of my plan for the year. And I looked at the loom and she used my sheet, the product potential sheet I was just talking about. And it had so many different products, so many different rounds of all of those products. And then very high amounts of sales. And I went back to her, and I never have any judgment towards my clients. I'm there to help them. I just asked her a couple of questions. I was like, okay, thank you for making this for me. This really helps. Or like making it for you, because they don't do it for me. They just get my help. And I asked her, do you have any proof that you can hit these targets based on what you've done in the past? Do you get 200 sales in a launch or not? Obviously, I can help my clients get better at launching. get higher numbers in webinars. But if they're used to getting 100 people in a webinar, and then all of a sudden they set targets where they have 2,000 people in webinars every time, that's not going to be realistic. So what I mean by deciding on key products and projects is you want to choose products and projects that align with your targets. If you're barely breaking even right now, I don't think it's good for you to do a really big rebranding project in Q1 that is going to cost you a lot of money, because you should be spending your time on, I don't know, creating an aligned product, for example. If you see that one product isn't getting you a lot of revenue, or maybe it's something lower tier and you are used to selling that because you think people will buy the lower tier product and then they'll flow through to my next program. But maybe you see in your data when you're analyzing that people actually don't go from the cheaper product to the more expensive product, then don't spend time on that product. I have many of my millionaire clients. I rarely add products with them. We're always trimming, and I usually have them choose a timeline, which is basically step 4. By the way, you're going to create a sales timeline. We usually plan their sales efforts throughout the year, and we choose the quarters for major launches, and we then create focus points per quarter or per season so that they have enough time for audience attraction, lead generation, all of those things. And you can do the same. Once you've decided, okay, these products actually get me 80% of my revenue, then in your sales timeline, you're going to plan in launches for those. And I know passive income is super hip, and funnels and stuff is definitely something you can work on. You can get a lot of results with those. But I also think that we underestimate a well-planned out year with some solidly planned out launches. Even if you relaunch the same product or program 4 times in the upcoming year, it's not that difficult to create, for example, a 100K year. A 100K year divided by 4 quarters means 25K per quarter. You could aim for 8K per month, or you can just aim for one 25K launch per quarter. That's very, very doable. You just need to spend some time on your audience attraction, your price point, all of those things. If you have no clue where to start, by the way, I just hosted an amazing training on basically what you need to unlock in order to have your first 100K year. I know this is a goal many people have. I know it might seem daunting, or maybe you're even already past that, but you don't really know if it was a glitch, or maybe currently you are working really hard and you are just not seeing your hard work reflected in your bank account. Maybe you're working so hard and you're not actually creating a financial buffer, which might actually make you think like, why am I doing this? Should I go back to working for someone else? No, you don't. Chances are you just need a better plan for the upcoming year. And I'd love to share with you my plan that will get you a 100K year in 2025. All you need is a little bit of time in your calendar, and you need to DM me the word unlocked. This training is definitely worth 100K because you're going to make 100,000 euros with it in the upcoming year. But you could get it for 200 euros, but because it's the end of the year and I'm feeling really generous and I've been spending lots of time on planning and strategy, I'm gifting it to you. So I'm gifting it to you. All you need to do is just go to my Instagram, FastForwardAmy, and DM me the word unlocked. So unlocked, like unlock, but then ED. I don't know why I chose it like that. So just DM me the word unlocked, or go to the link in the description and I'll DM you the link to the training with me. You can go and watch it. I'll probably, I'll have to check if I did that, but probably include like a little calendar template you can use for the upcoming year. And you want to do this because what happens when you don't plan out your launches, and I am definitely the worst at that. I think this year is probably the first time I've actually planned out the rest of like the new year until the end of December next year. I'm feeling really proud of that. And I'm also so clear on where I'm going to get my multiple millions in revenue. And I can't believe I've never done it as detailed as I've done it this time around. And I don't want you to have to wait 3 years before you do it like I did it. So I want to teach you basically literally how you can plan out your 2025 year. And I'm going to teach you what you should and shouldn't be doing in there. So back to the episode, we already had step 1, analyze your past year. Don't skip, because this is going to show you which products you need to focus on and which products you might need to skip. Set targets that are motivating and not too high, but also not too low, because they need to be realistic but motivating. Decide what your key products and projects are. Don't spend time on shit that isn't a priority. Step 4, create a sales timeline. And then the last step, so important, is actually that you need to determine your lead generation leads. So often people will say, oh, I want to get 50 sales. But I know, for example, when I need 50 sales, I know I can convert 10% of a webinar. So 50 sales actually means 500 people in my webinar. But not everyone who signs up for my webinar actually watches my webinar or attends live. I know about 50% attends. So if I want 50 sales at a 10% conversion rate, I need 500 people to show up live, but the showing up live is at 50%. So that means I need 1,000 people to sign up. And the 1,000 people that need to sign up is then something I can take into account into my sales timeline, marketing timeline. So I'll know, for example, right before a big launch is when I should be on other people's podcasts, where we might need to be really focused on our lead generation skills, maybe a little bit more focused on our marketing efforts, versus during a launch, I'll probably be focused on selling a bit more. I try to keep my marketing going and attract new people also when I'm launching, but it just helps that okay, by that date, I need to get 1,000 people into a webinar, for example. And I think this is what you need to do for the upcoming year. Don't just set sales targets, but really set lead generation targets as well, and determine where in the year you're going to need which eyeballs and people to show up. And that is actually basically, once you know your stats, this is going to be a foolproof way to just sell out everything and have your best revenue year yet. And as I said, these are some steps you can take, but in my training, I'm going to teach you the 3 C's you need to unlock in your online business in order to hit that first 100K year. Definitely make sure you don't miss out on that training. Simply DM me the word unlocked on Instagram on FastForwardAmy, and I'll send it over. And then in the meantime, I'll be back next week with another episode of the Fail to Win podcast. If you liked the podcast, let me know. And I don't know, just send me a photo or tag me in your stories or something when you're working on your 2025 plan. I love seeing it. Bye.